everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching Ba-Boom, the political vigilante making Gotham great again. Well, we're finding the silver linings. A lot of negative stuff happening, but there's what's going on I think really, even before the pandemic, but I think the pandemic accelerated the labor really realizing who they were. What we talked about on this show, I think it was 2018 and 2019, there was a lot of teacher strikes that were all in red states and they all won. And it's like that's an area where people historically have always united across lines. They want us dividing in the red state, blue state stuff, black, white, whatever, because they know labor is where we all unite. Labor is where we all unite. So we just had the Amazon Staten Island facility a couple of days ago or last week, I forget exactly when, just unionized. That's big. And what just happened literally today. So this is from SB Workers United, and this is the Starbucks. So these Starbucks, and once the first one fell last year to union, I say fell because that's how the corporate people think, and I want them to be bummed out. I was like, oh man. And I say fell too, because it's like, this is a domino and it's already starting. Because any Starbucks worker is like, well, shit, they got it at that one. Why can't we get it? Any Starbucks you go into, tell them, hey guys, you should unionize. You should unionize. The Bright Monroe Clover store in Rochester also won their union vote today by a margin of 10-3, becoming the 13th unionized Starbucks in the U.S. We went for 3 for 3 today. We have won 13 out of 14 total elections so far. Stay tuned for Ithaca's vote counts tomorrow. This is huge, and it is something we've talked about on this show and other shows about. This is what it's going to take, because we've seen the failures in electoral politics. And I'm not one here to say don't vote. I've never said that, but we know there's just huge limitations because our election, our political system is so rigged. It's rigged for these corrupt two parties. But this is huge and very significant. And I want to bring on the show to discuss more about the significance of this and a lot of the unions that have been formed just recently. A host of Get Your News On with Ron. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Ron Placone. Ron, you're muted.
I always forget. I mean, I always mute myself to like be responsible, you know? Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to be muted like for the setup. And then I forget to unmute myself. And I'm like, yeah, it's go time. And then I'm like, oh man. I mean, usually like the first thing out of my mouth is just like, hey, what's up? Or something stupid like that. So it does give me like a mulligan to be more insightful. Maybe I do it on purpose. But anyway,
so dude, what do you think of this, Ron? Obviously, you've been following this a lot. I know you cover this on your show, but these are the like little victories that we're seeing that are starting to add up. So I wanted to hear what your take on this was.
Well, first of all, you can't help but notice like they're all, not all of them, but like a lot of these things that we're seeing them in clusters. You know, like we're seeing them in clusters in different areas. And now there's clusters almost everywhere because it wasn't too long ago. The first store in the South, Knoxville, Tennessee, won a union vote too. So we're going to see more in every area in the country. This is huge. Starbucks is kind of scared. That's why Howie Schultz is the CEO again. What do you think? They didn't make him CEO again because everyone likes him. It'll smooth things over. We remember his presidential campaign. He's about as likable as a hemorrhoid on a roller coaster. But they brought him back because he's good at union busting. He has a history of that, and they freaking know that. So they brought him back in to try to put a stamp on that. I mean, they were honest about it. They basically said it. These companies are saying the quiet part out loud constantly. So the workers, it is so clear that it's us versus them. That's always been the case, but now they're not even trying to hide it. And you love to see it. You really love to see it. There's been some victories at Starbucks. And, you know, the Amazon victory at Staten Island really proves something that we knew all along, but it proves it once and for all. We don't need these politicians. They did it themselves. And I'm not saying that to be divisive. I'm really not. I'm just saying that because this is how a freaking movement works. You force the people in power to vote the way you want and to do what you want. It's nice if they lend their support vocally. That's great. It's nice if like they want to support you and vote for you. That's great. But you don't need them to build it. It's never been that way in the United States. It never will be. And we just got to keep pushing because we can do it. It's been proven.
What's significant here, there's so many things that are significant. Obviously the Starbucks in Seattle, like the original, like that went union of like a month or so ago, that was big. And like you're saying, we're seeing these clusters all over the country, and they're bringing in Schultz, who is just a jackass. And they even showed his speech recently. He's like, we got to stop this scourge of unions. And it's like,
what the hell, dude?
What, like, and who do you think you're fooling now? Because who's working at the Starbucks? It's mostly young people in their 20s, right? Who are, all they do are on social media, right? They're the most social media savvy group ever. And what they're doing, they're posting videos of union, like secret videos, or they're just having their camera rolling while their manager is like, and they're like, I got fired for this and this. And everyone on the internet is like, who's the manager? Who's this person? Oh, it's so-and-so at this Starbucks on this address just fired me because I'm trying to organize a union. That person gets harassed. This is where like, this is the upside of the cancel culture, when they can't just cancel anybody for having an opinion that I'm not down with. But this is like, let's use the cancel culture and social media for good. Like, let's use it for good. And this is what's happening, is like, bring in all the Andrew Schultzes you want, dude. You ain't on the internet because your whole workforce is in its 20s, all of them.
Yeah.
Like, what's the average age of a Starbucks worker? I'm just guessing, but probably 27, 28. I mean, at the most, it's like you got teenagers, people in college, people in their early 20s, and they're waking up to the union stuff because they're not watching CNN. They're not even watching Democracy Now! I mean, they're getting their information in a different way. And on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and everything, it's people saying union now, forming unions. And I'm like, I don't know how they're going to be able to stop this tidal wave, because it just keeps building and building. And what's also, and it's a thing, you and I have talked about together and individually on our shows, this is what it's going to take. The only thing the powerful understand is you affecting their money. And it's like, they're so afraid of unions because they know unions carry a lot of leverage. That's why the 4 or 5 decades long corporate coup in the 50s, when the American economy was so good, we had the highest union membership, we had the highest taxation rate, we had the lowest margin between employee and CEO salary. It was like 2 or 3 to 1, maybe, where now it's like 50 or 20 to 1 or some insane number.
It's more than that, but yeah, it's like in the hundreds.
It's like 100 to 200 to 1 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So this is, and we all woke up to what the essential worker, I think that was one of the upsides, the silver linings to come out of the pandemic, which has been awful. And a lot of people, the pandemic's been bad in a lot of ways, but nobody needed a billionaire for an essential job. Nobody needed him. Like, we all saw, like, you can't zoom in unloading a truck. You can't zoom in, groceries. You can't zoom in working in a factory that ships food and processes food. You can't do that. So, and so who cares? And everybody's wide awake to the fact that, like, Forbes released the new billionaire list. And it's like, oh, who cares? Like, and all the stuff that's happening, I'm seeing all these silver linings. I mean, Bezos wants to build, take his new yacht, and they got to move some bridge in Holland or something. And people are like, nah, we're going to chuck eggs at your dumb boat, you bald jackass. So, like, my question to you, like, how do you see this growing? You follow a lot of labor stuff. You follow a lot of, and I know, like, broadband and public utilities for internet and stuff like that. Internet net neutrality is very big with you. Like, where else do you see this going?
Well, what I hope is that, I mean, first of all, the unions continue to spread. I mean, let's not, it's not like, hey, everyone's good now. Like, there's still a long, long way to go. So of course, like, you hope that keeps spreading. You hope that it eventually hits every single store, and eventually they just have to concede to the demands of workers. So that's the first thing. When you're bringing the digital rights into this, stuff like net neutrality, stuff like municipal broadband, what you really hope is that this kind of bleeds into everybody who's realizing how messed up our work culture is, and people who work in like maybe not labor jobs, but office jobs, things like that are very, very similar in many ways, that are going to stand up and say, you know what? Screw you. I'm not coming back into the office. You don't need me in the office because we're just as productive at home. It's better for the environment. And you just don't want a bunch of real estate developers to lose out on some money. So you're trying to make it out like we need to be here. You're full of shit, and we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to have a better work-life balance, and we like each other. So guess what? We're going to meet for a happy hour. Go fuck yourselves. That's what I want to see happen, because that's going to like hurt these real estate developers. It's going to kind of change the way we go about our lives, which when you look at the IPCC report, they said point blank, that's what we got to freaking do. So all these things are, no pun intended, connected. So I want to see that happen. And then after that, what I really want to see happen is, hey, there's all this space now. What are we going to do? We're going to make affordable housing with it. We're going to house people. We're going to get people off the streets and into housing. We're not going to brutalize them. Something disgusting just happened in my district recently. He was our council member, Joe Buscaino, who's a cop and a bully, and he's running for mayor. It'll be a disaster if he becomes mayor of Los Angeles. And that guy just basically swept a bunch of people, ordered a bunch of sweeps, got a bunch of people destabilized in the San Pedro area. A bunch of them had to leave right away. I think a bunch of people got injured in the process. I'm pretty sure a cat got killed. It's disgusting what's happening, man. And like, so that's what I want to see. And I think like when you kind of look into what all of this will eventually take shape of, again, and I know this sounds like a broken record coming from me, it's going to be a general strike, or they're going to concede to our demands before a general strike has to happen. But I don't see it going that way.
Yeah, well, I think I'd like to see an across the board general strike. Obviously, I don't know that Americans are going to coordinate that well to do it. I hope I'm wrong.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is hard. But what I am seeing is it just sort of happening piecemeal. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because
Sure.
I think so many of these things are tied in together. Like what you talked about, like people like, I'd rather stay home. We've been talking about since last fall, the Great Resignation. And there's a lot of factors contributing to that. Some of them are like, married couples with a kid who were both working, and one of the working ones went, well, why do I need to work? I mean, I'm only making $300 more than what childcare was costing. And everybody's reevaluating quality of life because of the pandemic. We all got, a lot of stuff we took for granted. Even you and I took, we're doing shows. We'll just take that for granted. Now that all got taken away, hanging out with friends, doing important stuff that we all took for granted in many ways. And people are like reevaluating what's important. So a lot of people are like, nah, we're going to just, one of the parents didn't go back to their job. They'd rather stay home and raise their kids and have a better quality of life rather than working all the time. Or they moved out of an expensive city into a cheaper place because everyone's working remotely now, or, whatever it is. Or people are just like, I'm not going back to this crappy job. And people are just like finding new ways of earning money, like whatever, on Twitch, on TikTok, on whatever, OnlyFans, like whatever. People are just like they're like, why am I working for some boss? And, the one thing about the corporate media, they love patting themselves on the back, talking about all the new millionaires that are created in Wall Street. They love bragging about that. They don't realize it's such spitting in the face of the average American worker. And people are like, we're done. We're done with this crap. And we're done with watching, billionaires fly their cock rockets around the planet while we're barely getting by. And you cannot go to any American city where there isn't rampant homelessness that has only increased in the last 2 years. And I think it's sort of, it's already kind of happening piecemeal, that people are waking up to what's important and what isn't. Like so many people are waking up to that fact.
Oh, big
And
time, man. And yeah, you really do hate to use like the term silver linings and stuff like that because I mean, the pandemic was such a freaking terrible thing. But it's like the only thing you can do is just grasp for, well, what is the greater lesson here and how do we
Mhm.
come out the other end of this for the better? And that's the way. And I think everyone's been saying this to the beginning. And in a lot of ways, like, the pandemic and the circumstances we all found ourselves in, that just sort of exacerbated what was already happening. We were already driving towards the cliff, and that just sort of floored it. Well, now we're stuck in a freaking ditch and we have the opportunity to drive the other way. And we freaking have to. Otherwise, we're just going to head straight off that cliff. So, yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled to see it. I'm thrilled to see these unions happening. It's got to continue happening, and people need to learn from the mistakes that have been made, and also learn from the victories, and see what happened in each scenario. There is a difference when you threaten to strike versus when you frickin' strike. There's a big difference, and I'm not trying to put down I'm not trying to put down IATSE or anything like that. I'm not trying to put down anyone involved with that. I salute them. I'm in total solidarity with them. I mean, hell, man, they're they're the stage workers. They're essential for everything
Mhm.
that we do here in Hollywood. But you know, they didn't get as much of what they wanted because they didn't end up striking. John Deere did. They were on strike. They got
Yep.
everything they wanted. I mean, that's just the way it goes, and I know that it's by design that that's hard to do. It's hard for people to strike because their healthcare is connected to their job. They're 1 or
Yep.
2 paychecks from going under. They can't imagine it. It's very difficult, but a lot of times, yeah, that's what it takes. You need to hit the pocketbook because that, like you said, it's gotta hit their money or they're not gonna do anything.
They don't care. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Ron Placone. We've got tour dates July 29 in Seattle, July 30 in Vancouver. Those, and we're going to add Portland on the 28th. So check back with ronplacone.com or grahamelwood.com. Those tour dates should be up there. Please join us. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our ninth month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/grahamelwood or rockfin.com/grahamelwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood. And go to grahamelwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.